Hi everyone, it's Laura and I hope you're all doing really well. Today I'm going to be talking through my reading plans for the next few months. We are already kind of into October, but I'm going to be including the rest of October, November and December. In my last video I went through all of the unread books that I own physically and on my Kindle and asked you guys for some recommendations. So this list that I have here for the next few months is very much inspired by those comments that you left me in my last video. There were some clear front runners and a lot of them were classics as well, which I'm really bad at getting to. I always get distracted by the new releases. So this feels quite exciting to have quite a classics heavy to be read list for the next couple of months. So the first book that I knew I was going to be reading in the next few months was War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, and that is because this is the pick for my Patreon book club. So we're going to be reading it over the next 3 months because we thought we'd give ourselves a lot of time to get into it. And it's nice to have a bit of moral support when you're reading a book as long as this. Anna Karenina is one of my favourite books ever. And I have tried War and Peace in the past and found it quite difficult and gave up. I've since watched the miniseries adaptation with Lily James and absolutely adored it. So I feel like that will help me going into this and give me a little bit more motivation to get past the bits that I found quite difficult last time, which namely was the war. I found the war very difficult to read. But if you would like to join us, I will leave a link to my Patreon page in the description box below. And if you join the bonus tier level, you not only get access to the book club, but also some extra additional bonus content throughout the year as well. So that's for starters. I also have 2 more books for the Feminist Orchestra book club that I run with Jean over on Goodreads. The link to that will also be in the description box. We read a book every 2 months, and so I have the pick for September and October still left to read, and that's Sorcerer to the Crown by Zen Cho. And this is set in Regency London, but there is magic. So we have Zacharias, who is the first African sorcerer royal, sorcerer to the crown, as the title suggests, and he gets mixed up with a young scrappy orphan, Prunella, who I'm guessing is magical as well. So this will be quite an interesting romp. I don't really read a lot of books with like magic in them and like witchcraft and sorcery and that kind of thing. So looking forward to this one. And then our pick for November and December for the Feminist Orchestra is It's Not About the Burqa by Mariam Kahn, and I have downloaded this on audiobook to listen to. So now going on to the books that were recommended by you. The first of these is Tessa the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. I got so many recommendations to read this. As I have, I think every time I've mentioned this book, people have been like, read Tess, it's brilliant. I've only read Far From the Madding Crowd by Thomas Hardy, and I studied it at school. So although I enjoyed it when I read it as an adult, it's still kind of tainted with that those memories of studying it. And I'd really like to come to a Hardy of my own volition and see what I think about his writing. So I know this is going to be quite heartbreaking. I might try and get to it reasonably soon because I've got this and War and Peace to get through in the next few months, and I feel like both of them are going to be a little bit hard going. Not difficult reads necessarily, but just a lot, if you know what I mean. The next recommendation we have is The Robber Bride by Margaret Atwood, and this is about a woman. This is what I think this book is about. A woman who basically steals husbands or gets involved in other women's marriages and causes destruction. I have read a short story that Margaret Atwood wrote as part of her Stone Mattress short story collection a few years ago, and it was actually like a sequel or a follow-on to The Robber Bride. It has some of the same characters in it. And luckily, I can't really remember what was going on in that story, so I don't think it will spoil it for me. Normally, I absolutely love Margaret Atwood's writing. Kind of whatever she's writing about. She's very like a chameleon, I almost feel. All of her novels seem so different, and yet there's always something distinctly Atwood about them. So I always know going into a book that I'm going to enjoy her writing. Whether I enjoy the story or not, well, remains to be seen. Next, I have a couple of books on my Kindle that were recommended to me. So the first one of these is 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. I have just been meaning to get to his work for such a long time, and I downloaded this, his first one, with the expectation that I would read this and The Kite Runner and everything and get into his writing, and yet I obviously completely forgot that I even had it and downloaded it, so it was quite a good exercise going through every book that I own. I don't know very much about the plot of this book other than it comes incredibly highly recommended, and the second Kindle book that I have, which I do know the plot of roughly, is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskill, and I know this because I have many times watched the BBC miniseries adaptation with Richard Armitage, and one of the girls at uni had it on DVD, and we used to watch it like all the time. Like whenever we're feeling a little bit down or a little bit stressed, we're like, let's watch North and South. So I'm looking forward to getting the proper full story from her writing. I know it's about a young woman who ends up going to the north, from the south to the north, to Milton, which is a place where there is mills in the town, and, you know, gets confronted with the different kind of life there. Next we have Brooklyn by Colm Tobin, which is about a young Irish woman in the 50s who emigrates to New York. I have not seen the film of this with Saoirse Ronan, so I'm coming to this completely new. I've only read one of Colm Tobin's books before, which was The Testament of Mary, and that's like a novella. So it'd be interesting to see, just to see a little bit more of his writing, like read something more long form by him. A bit of a mixed one next, and that's Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. And I had so many comments about this book, and they were so extreme. People either absolutely loved it or thought it was really bad, like kind of felt disappointed by it. There was a real mix of opinion, but it was recommended so many times that I thought, okay, well, this really intrigues me at least. So I think I should give it a go. And this is about a young woman who has essentially raised herself and lives wild in the marshes of this North Carolina town. And there's murder, and therefore people suspect her because she's almost the town local crazy person. And I had the feeling that this is more of a summer book, to be honest, probably from the cover, and just from the idea it's sort of set on the coast and there's marshlands and stuff. It just feels like I just really got that hot summer vibe from it. So it's not necessarily the time of year to read this book, but you know, I will make an exception. But I think it is the time of year, definitely, to read My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh, which I intended to read right in the very heart of lockdown. But seeing as it looks like we might be going into another lockdown, I think it's just the perfect time to read a book about sitting around and doing nothing. I haven't read anything by her before, so this will be my first book by her. So it will be interesting to see if this book lives up to its hype, because I have, like, continuously since it came out heard absolutely rave things about it. So yeah, high expectations. So that's 10 books for the next 3 months, which isn't a lot by BookTube standards, to be honest, but it is a lot when you consider one of those books is War and Peace, and it is also a lot when, you know, you consider I probably will pick up other things as well. I don't think I will limit myself strictly to just this TBR. I might add some little extras in there as well. I would love to know what you're planning to read over the next few months, and also let me know again what you thought of these books if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!